This is a Curating Your Life Cogito collab. This is the first one of many, Mr. J. And we're so pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, young brother.
You know, how you feeling?
Man, I feel super fantastic, man. I can't complain. Life is good. Things are well. I'm healthy in every area of my life, so I can't complain at all. I'm doing well.
Every area of your life. You know? What would you categorize those areas of your life?
My areas of my life are simple. Number one would be my health. You got to stay healthy. Number two, my marriage. I'm not just married, but I'm happily married. You know, and I know a lot of times people don't say that, but I got a good woman. You know what I mean? We've been married 27 years, so that's real cool. My beautiful daughter, my grandchildren, my brothers, my colleagues. You know, I'm centered, if you will. And not that it happened overnight. It took many years to get here. Okay. But yeah, that's where I'm at. So when you're looking at financially, spiritually, health-wise, physically, emotionally, mentally, I'm well. I'm okay. And I think a lot of times we don't address those issues. We want to be well financially, but not well emotionally.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, or be healthy emotionally and not well financially. And so we don't have the balance that we're all trying to acquire in life. So it's very important to me that I have balance in my life. It's very important.
Okay. So when you say balance, you say like physically, mentally, spiritually. What did you think you came up with these things? Like how long did it take you to you really felt like you found your stride in these things?
I would say this to anyone that some people say as you get older, you get wiser. I beg to differ because true wisdom is acquired by knowledge and not by age, because one can grow to be an old fool. The fact of the matter is, as I've gotten older, I just had to do some reflection upon myself. How am I as an individual? How am I as a man? How do I treat my wife? How do I treat my colleagues? And what I found, I'm just going to speak for me, is that I wasn't as good as I thought I was.
Okay.
You know, and that's just being honest. There's always room for improvement. And that's not to blame anybody for any shortcomings, mind you, but a lot of times people have a natural tendency to blame others for their circumstantial situation. I just wanted to take accountability for myself. If my life wasn't the way that I wanted it to be, what the hell do I need to do to fix this shit? Period. Not blaming anybody, the white man, the economy, nothing. What do I need to do to fix my life? And once I embraced that ideology and embraced that mentality and put forth the appropriate effort and work, it was a lot of effort and work there, I don't want to give you the wrong impression, and patience, things started to turn around for me and I find myself here today.
Okay. What do you talked a lot about like balance and like being self-accountable and things like if things are going wrong, what did I do to get myself here? Kind of like in that situation. So how do you like balance between like being hard on yourself or too hard on yourself and like giving yourself more grace, but at the same time like holding yourself accountable for like the things that you gotta get done?
Well, I have to give credit to my father. My dad was an asshole. He was tough. And I look back on it now and I thank God for him. Because my father was interested in raising me and not being my buddy. He was interested in me being a man, being able to take care of myself first and foremost, being responsible for my actions, even how I dressed, how I spoke. He just was a real no-nonsense dude. He's still alive to this day, and me and him real tight. I love my pops immensely. But when you look at the word accountability, I learned that how I was raised. My dad was the type of guy, you bring home 4 A's and a B, and even though you were an honor roll student, and even though you got 4 A's, he's looking at the B.
Okay.
And so he would say, there's always room for improvement. And so I would say how I was raised, you know, just, I don't want to say hard, but just being taught that no one's going to give you anything, that you're going to have to work for everything you want. And it's one thing to get it, a whole nother thing to keep it. You know what I mean? And just that repetitiveness of being held accountable, be it school, you know, cleaning up my house, the chores, you know, making all that stuff, homework. My pops was just no nonsense. But when I was young, of course I rebelled. I want a buck. I'm tripping. Pops is mean. I can't stand no whoop-de-whoop.
Okay.
But as you get older, as I got older, I never forget when I became an executive with ABC, Walt Disney, and ESPN. And I told my dad, and he came to Atlanta and he visited the location and he just cried. And he said, I hope you see why I did what I did. Look at you, you're not an employee, you're the boss. You know, and this is why I wanted you to be the way you were. And so Shout out to Pops, man. I got to shout out my Pops.
No,
real
no,
talk.
understand.
Yeah, shout out to Pops, man. And my moms. My mom's a lovely woman, just like any other moms. But my father was a huge impact on me, man. And I just thank God for him. Wonderful dude, wonderful man. And Dad, I know you probably checked this out. I love you. And I wouldn't have got here without him, straight up.
Looking back at it, you think you realize those things while they're happening in the
Hell
moment,
no, man.
or you
I
feel
thought,
like that was like,
nah, man. I was angry. I didn't understand why he was doing what he was doing. I didn't understand it at the time. No, and you know what's really fascinating now that I look back on it? I'll tell you what's interesting.
okay,
Now that when I became a father, I understood it. No father wants to be the mean parent or always being a disciplinarian, but I have a daughter, and you find yourself in this role of being a parent, and you want to be cool with your kids. You do. You want to get along with them. But then you quickly find out that that's not your role. Your job is to raise them. So when I look back on it, and now that I'm a father and a grandfather, 3 beautiful grandchildren, it was my father that taught. Without my father, my daughter doesn't exist.
right,
Without my father, my grandchildren don't exist.
right,
So when we understand lineage and we understand the importance of family and generation, which unfortunately in this society is being decimated, but when you understand, when I can look at my father, then see me, then see my child, then see her children,
okay,
you see it unfold in front of your face, and you see the purpose of your existence, life.
okay. So you said like you instill these things generation on generation. So it's kind of like a lineage.
It is,
I think.
absolutely.
So if you had to instill a couple of things into maybe your great grandkids, and you might not be here to see them, but you want to instill like a certain moral code or certain values. Like what are those things that you tried to teach in your daughter that you want them to teach in your grandchildren, and so forth and so forth.
Well, the first thing I would say is, as far as my daughter is concerned, she's done exceptionally well. Shout out to my daughter Tiana. She's doing her thing. Software engineer, representing to the fullest. Dad is extremely proud. But I heard a guy said the other day, if you spoil your child, you'll wind up raising your grandchildren. But if you raise your child, you can spoil your grandchildren. And I am spoiling my grandchildren because my daughter was raised appropriately. Did we always have a great relationship? No. There was a lot of times we would clash, but she loves me, I love her, and she understood the same purpose that my dad did to me. My job is not to be your friend. My job is to make sure that you can take care of yourself and do all those type of things. Now, as far as my grandchildren are concerned, what do I still know? Being a grandparent is entirely different than being a parent. Being a grandparent, you see all the things you wish you would have done with your children.
Okay.
I would say that. But at the same time, you see all the things you get to do with your grandchildren. So it's kind of a mixed emotion, to be honest. It's kind of a mixed bag. Your grandchildren, you're going to give a lot more leeway to. So, but what would I instill in them? Number one, always respect your mom and dad. I'm adamant about that. You know, mom and dad are God in the eyes of a child, in my opinion. No one has more influence over your child than the parent. Regardless if there's peer pressure, they still got to come home. But nonetheless, a code of working hard. You have to work. I don't want to say slave. Just because you work hard does not mean you're going to be successful. I do tell them that. You know, I know a lot of people who worked hard all their lives don't have much to show for it. So I don't want him to get particularly my grandson, I don't want him to get the wrong impression. But to be moral, to tell the truth, I don't think any grown man should have to lie, particularly to a woman. And I'm not a chauvinist by any means, but I just think a lot of times men don't tell the truth with women because they don't want to hurt their feelings, as I stated before. And that the one thing I want to instill in my grandson is to always be honest. And to be a man enough to accept what comes with it.
Right.
You know, and as far as my granddaughters are concerned, to be ladies, to be feminine, you know, I hope that they're raised to be wonderful wives. There's nothing wrong with having a career and making your bread and all that. But at the end of the day, I mentor a lot of young people, and I see a lot of young women. They got the bag, they got the career, they got the money, they don't have a husband. They even might have a child, but don't have a husband. So I don't want that for my granddaughters at all. And I would strongly encourage that they learn skills of how to be a wife, because as I would teach my grandson how to be a husband. because I don't want him to die alone. That's just unwarranted. It's unnecessary.
You brought me on a segue. I'm gonna get back to the success part, but I want to touch on this real fast.
Sure.
You talked about like not having a wife or not having a husband. You feel like that family dynamic kind of messes up the child, or you feel like that kind of
Whenever you take what's natural and make it unnatural, you create chaos. And let me clarify.
Okay.
When you have a single parent, my mother and father divorced. When my mom and dad were married, it was order. As soon as my mother and father divorced, my mom did the very best she could. She did, and I love her so much. But you got 3 young lions,
Right.
with all this testosterone. It is not normal for a woman to be in a position to raise those children by herself. It's just not. So here we taking something that's natural, the man and the woman. Now you separate them and you create an unnatural environment. So when you say, does it affect them in a negative way? Absolutely. I can be real. Fucking-lutely, it's gonna affect them. I'm gonna tell you the truth. And not only is it gonna affect them, it's most likely gonna fuck them up. Now are there exceptions to the rule? Yes. A few do make it. But the majority, if you single parent, highest risk to going to prison, dropping out of high school, repeating that cycle of being another single parent. So again, in today's climate, marriage is frowned upon, and rightfully so, because it's just jaded for a woman. And I've been married 28 years, and my wife is in here in the studio with me, so it's not like I'm saying something she can't hear me. Doesn't mean I don't love her and I'm not in love with her. But when I look at the fairness and equity and equality of marriage, it's definitely not fair for a man to be married. That's why a lot of men shy away from it. However, in doing that, what happens is you destroy the family dynamic. You destroy what's natural.
Okay.
If you with me.
No, I get what you're saying.
And so what happens over a generation or two, now this has become what's unnatural has become natural to this generation. So here you see young people say, I don't want to get married. Yeah. I don't want to have a family. But then, as I was saying before, the downside.
My mom always told me just wait to have kids. Yeah.
Well, you should wait. Yeah. But the downside to it is when you're 35 and you don't have a wife, if you get sick, if something happens to you, you have no one to care for you. And that door swings both ways. What if the woman was sick? And see, when we young, that's the downside to being young. We always think we're going to be young. That's not true. You're getting older every day. Eventually, you should be having someone to build a relationship with and a family with, whether you have children or not. But you are not put on this planet to be alone. It doesn't make any sense. And you're not put on this planet to be a whoremonger and sleep with a bunch of women and make a bunch of babies and don't take care of them. This what it comes down to, and no one really talks about. I know this is kind of off the beaten path, but no one talks about a lot of the stuff that we're doing is just simply evil.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we consider evil to be good. You know, you want to empower people to say, you know, you're a single mother, or this, that, and the third. Man, you were never meant to be a single mother. You were never meant to be dragged into some court system to have some dude or some road to tell you to pay $1,500 a month for some kid you're supposed to see every goddamn other weekend. That's some bullshit, man. I'm telling you the truth. Now, most men ain't gonna say this. They're not gonna tell you the truth. But I, you know, you get old, you see all the white on my face. I'm too old to worry about what people think. You see young folks, what do they call it, cancel culture?
Yeah.
It cancel you out and all that. I got all the culture I need. I have my wife, I have my health, I have my finances in order. I'm fine. Why am I doing this? To impact people and let them know, number one, life is worth living. Number two, you have to do the things that are required of you to have the life you want. This is very important. Number three, you have to have some moral compass. I'm tired of seeing young people operate in this society with no sense of morals. You don't get away with anything. Now, a lot of people don't want to address that, but believe me, I believe in God. If you believe in God, you should believe that there's an evil force in the world, which you know is Satan or the devil. And I see the devil is rampant in society, destroying young people, destroying the family, destroying the moral fiber of this country. And what really bothers me is they're destroying the foundation of the family. They're destroying the family. And without a family, what will happen to society? So, I mean, that question runs deep and long.
So how do you maintain the balance with all those things, with temptation?
Well, number one needs to have a prayer life. I'm not talking about going to church, giving some dude 10% of your bag. That's a racket. That's a racket. I'm gonna tell you straight. I once was invited to a church by a friend of mine. He said if I went, I would no longer be blind. How naive I was, I bought into a hook, line, and sinker until I realized they wanted me to lose my ability as a thinker. Give what we tell you or you'll be rejected. It seems to me that the ones that give the most is selected. Can this be real? Is this the church? That the one who gives the most clings to the pastor's skirt? We're praying for you and believing God's best while you eat hot dogs and they dine on chicken breasts. Man, that's a scam, bro. I'm gonna tell you straight. You need to develop a prayer life with God.
Okay.
Meditation, eating healthy. All the practices that are hidden from you. All the things that would make you a better person are all the things that you're not gonna see a high level of views on YouTube. You're not gonna see a high level of views on developing your spiritual understanding. Not that it doesn't exist, but you're gonna see more drama. You know, what you feed your soul. So how do you keep that balance? Just like you feed your body, you gotta feed your mind. What are you feeding your mind every day? What I talk to my mentees is this, what I say to them is this: when you wake up every morning, there is no one in your head but you.
Right.
What the hell do you tell yourself? And so most people have inner conversations of negative, words or whatever the case might be, negative conversation with themselves. And so this is kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, not understanding the divinity or the divine right they have within themselves. When you say, Mr. J, how do you keep the balance? Well, first of all, it's hard to acquire balance in any area of your life if you don't know who and what you are. You see, this is the number one thing why people don't find balance. They try to search outside of themselves for something that comes from within. So this by default makes them on a journey that's in vain. Anytime you look for God outside of yourself, you have the wrong God. I'm telling you straight. Everything that we see around us, even in this studio, this sweater, the table, at one particular time was a thought. So everything comes out of the mind of man.
Right.
Yes, and man, as I would tell people, in the words of my favorite old school guy, Neville Goddard, God is nothing but your own wonderful human imagination. And because we have the perplexity to imagine evil, evil exists. It must, because we can imagine it. And if you can imagine it with feeling, you even give it more power to exist. This is the magnetic pull that goes into the I would say the metaphysical, the quantum physics. These are things that, again, people don't talk about in great detail, but you are literally magnetic. You are drawing your life to you. I promise you that you are. It is you. You're doing this. How am I doing this, Mr. Johnson? You mean to tell me that I brought this adversity to myself? Yes. How? By the way you think. By the way you think. They don't understand. That no one's taught them these things. Why do you think they have to tell people to keep a positive attitude? Because most people by default think negatively.
So easy.
It's so easy. So think about that. You have to literally tell people to keep a positive attitude. Why? Because by default, a person will think negative.
Why do you think that is?
Well, you have to understand. Now, I'm going to go a little back for you here. Now, some might agree, some might not, but I hope if we do the editing, that you keep this in. Why is that? Because there are two things operating at all times in this world: good and evil, light and dark. It's the truth. It's the truth. And from our inception of this human condition, a curse was pronounced upon all of human civilization. One was to work and to labor by the sweat of your brow. This is why people get up every day and go to Walmart, Target, and all, and they get out there, whether their back hurt, their legs hurt, they gotta go to work. They gotta do this. And the other one was the separation of your bright nature. What do I mean by that? We see it most in children. You see them, they playing with their mud pies and having this whole fantasy world and conversing with people. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying to you is they're innocent. Once you become contaminated with this world, when you tell a child stop jumping, when you tell a child stop dreaming, when you tell a child to become responsible, when you tell any person to get your head out of the clouds and buckle down and all this other crap that you're told, it can't help but make you negative. It's done by programming. I'm gonna give you an example and entertain me. Finish the common phrase: no pain,
no gain.
Anything in life worth having, you have to work what?
Hard for.
Now, you know that, I know that, and the people who are listening are going to know that. My question is, how the hell do we all know that?
Oh, it just is always told to me.
You see,
Just-
that's programming.
that's just the way it
We
goes.
all know this. But what if I told you none of that's true? That's not true. Now they tell you when you work out, they say if you have pain, you should what? Stop. You shouldn't hurt yourself. Ain't that what they say?
Yeah, don't work out too hard.
Don't work out too
Yeah, don't
hard.
work
So
out
I
too-
thought that no pain, no gain. But that's not true. You see? Or anything in life worth having, you have to work hard for it. Now, I'm sure everyone who is listening to me knows someone who has worked hard their entire life and don't have much to show for it. So that's a lie, too. Then they hit you with this one. Work smarter, not harder. Bunch of bullshit.
That's a good one.
What's the hell does that mean? Work smarter, not harder. Now you insinuating that the people who were working hard were not smart individuals. That's not true either. See, all these sayings that we come up with are all bullshit. And people hear it repetitively, then they tend to believe it. That's how it works. Everything works off belief. You must come to understand that even you with what you're doing, it works off how you believe or how you feel about it. You see, this is what I would tell people, the secret to manifesting anything you want. It's not enough to say something repetitively over and over again. In a sense, it is inner chatter, and on some level, it's maybe a slight form of self-hypnosis. But to say something over and over again does not mean it's going to happen. But if you say something over and over again with feeling and emotion, now you can cause something magical to happen. Now, why do I mention about your feelings or your emotions? Because the one thing they teach young men is not to deal with their emotions. I'll give you an example.
Tell
Little
me about
boy
it.
starts to cry, you tell him to what?
Suck it up.
Suck it up.
Suck it up.
Stop crying.
Be a man.
Be a man. Right? Be a man, right?
Yeah,
So then when you get older and then the woman wonders why, he just won't talk to me. He just won't share his feelings with me. His whole life, he's been told, don't show no emotion.
You're right.
His whole life. And then they wonder why when you get married, he's cold, he's distant. That's how y'all raised him. If he fell down, boys don't cry. All the stuff, if you on a football field and you get hit, got your bell rung, you really hit, suck it up. Now they call it concussion protocol. You see, all that bullshit we were taught is just that a lie. Am I saying you should run around here weak? By no means, hell no. But to run around here dead to your feelings, dead to your emotions, like they don't matter to you, is not only a danger to society, it's a danger to yourself. Your emotion is the compass that is going to lead you to where you need to be. How do you feel? It's your guide. How do you feel? And if you ask most men how do they feel, they give you the basic generic answer. I'm maintaining.
I'm cool.
I'm cool.
I'm okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm good.
When I speak to my mentees, I don't ask them how's their day. I ask them, how is your state of mind? That's what I ask. How is your state of mind? And don't shit me. Tell me the truth. It's just me and you in this room. And then they proceed to be honest. Mr. J, I'm dealing with this. Mr. J, I'm dealing with that. And you know what's fascinating? Most of them are all dealing with the same shit. It's amazing to me. And that in itself is perplexing, because then you find that so many people have so much in common. White, black, Hispanic, Chinese, Muslim, Christian. It doesn't matter. Right. They're all facing the same shit. And because they're segmented and separated and they don't talk to each other, no one realizes that we're all dealing with the same crap.
We don't know.
We're all going through it. But because of this religious belief or the color of your skin or your geographical location or your economic background or your educational background, now we have all these different classes. But I find something very interesting. The most beautiful woman in the world, fine as all outdoors, can be a millionaire, and a prostitute who's down there in the hood living under a bridge, they have something in common. They're both going to die. One is truly not better than the other. When you think about it deeply, they are both going to wind up in that grave. Whether it's Elon Musk or some dope boy on the corner, they both are headed to that dirt. And when that funeral parlor gets him and puts him in that casket and he's floating around in the water, soupy and all that, what does it matter? The fact of the matter is, you should ask yourself, why am I here? Why am I really here? Don't forget the cars, the clothes. Once you get all that material shit, let me tell you guys something. You can get some money. Okay, you got the bag, you get some bread, okay?
All right,
cool.
Solve that problem.
Yeah, you got the crib, okay, cool. You got the lady, okay, cool. You even got a couple of kids, cool. You got the whip, cool. You're gonna find yourself sitting on the edge of your bed one day wondering, what the hell am I doing here? Why am I alive? What is the purpose of my life? And unfortunately, most people lie on their deathbed with the ghost of regrets all around them. Little dreams that they never fulfilled, all because they were afraid. They weren't balanced. They lacked courage. They were worried about what society would say, what their wife would think, or their children would think. I don't give a damn. I lived my life for the first 40 years trying to make my wife happy, my daughter happy, be a good citizen, do the job. You know what I found myself doing? Being in the strip club, smoking weed, and just pissed off.
Numbing the pain, huh?
Numbing the pain. That's a very good way, young, but numbing
No,
the pain.
that's what you be doing.
Yeah.
Escaping. You just want to escape. It's escape. We all got different forms of escape, but
you're right.
It's escapism.
That's right. And so, man, but once I freed myself from myself, that's what I pray for all men, particularly men. I love women, but I just deal with a lot of men. And the one thing I want men to do is to free themselves from this pain that we in, because no one talks about it. And I see it all the time. It bears out in their body. You'll see them, they're overweight, young, or they abuse their bodies. They drink too much, smoke too much. Mm-hmm. They don't take care of themselves. There's a lot of factors that are playing into it. But if people just took the time to realize that we're all going through this journey of life, it is not easy for anybody. And here's another misnomer. Money is a good thing as far as your finances. You could pay your bills and meet those needs. But if money solved everything, why would celebrities get divorced? Because it doesn't solve everything. It just means you could pay your bills. And I really wish people were told the truth about that. I really do, because everyone's chasing this money.
Man, we all chasing the bag. That's at least what I've been.
But let me hit, and for all of you who are listening, let me look into the camera. Listen, don't chase money. If you're chasing money, it's supply that is running from you. You don't chase nothing. It comes to you. You see, people don't understand that you can call things unto yourself. You can will yourself into a situation. Again, because they don't understand their divinity, their divine right, and how the metaphysics works, how the quantum physics world works, how the imaginations and feeling all line up with attracting to you that what you want. They call it the law of attraction. Okay. I appreciate the proper terminology of it today. But the fact of the matter is, it's just basically an ancient spiritual principle. You know it as this from a biblical sense. You reap
what you sow.
What goes around
comes around.
It's real simple. He who sows a little gets a little back. He who sows, it's all the same. They just take the name off of it. You don't call it God, you call it the universe. You don't call it prayer, you call it affirmations. Mm-hmm. You don't call it spirit, you call it energy.
Okay.
You understand me?
So they're like two sides of the same coin.
It's the same quarter, just the verbiage is different. They might say sayonara, you say goodbye. But it means what? The same thing.
Okay.
It is the same principle with understanding these things. So when I try to teach my mentees about, Mr. J, how did you manifest this? How do you manifest that? They think it's some like miraculous process. It is not. It has been told to you what you do. Whatever you ask for, whatever it might be. Whatever it might be. Now here's the rub. This is where most people fail. You have to believe that you already possess it.
Okay.
This is where they fail.
All
because
right.
someone would say, how can I believe I have something when I can't see it? I can't touch it. I can't smell it. You're asking me to lie to myself. No, I am not. I'm asking you to have something called faith. Now see, it's a word that is loosely used, but most people don't understand what it is. Faith is the substance of a thing hoped for, the evidence of the thing not seen. What does that mean? Let me just break that down. Faith is a real thing. It's real. It's not some pseudoscience. It's real. It is. Faith is. What is it? Faith is the substance or the matter. This chair is made up of matter. This table of the thing hoped for no man hopes for what he already has. Okay. So whatever you're hoping for something you don't possess. You with me so far?
Following.
Okay, so faith is the substance of the thing hoped for, the evidence of the thing not seen. So if I went into court and I said, Your Honor, I want to enter this wash towel as Exhibit A, this is the evidence of that statement, right? The evidence is the wash towel. So when I say faith is the substance of the thing hoped for, the evidence of the thing not seen, what does it simply mean? Ladies and gentlemen, it means this. It is the fact that you believe it that makes it real. That's how it works. I'm going to say this to you again. Your faith is a real thing. It is the substance. What is the substance? For whatever it is you're hoping for. I want a new car. I want a new house. I want a great marriage. I want to have great health, or whatever it is. The faith, your belief in it is the evidence of it. Listen carefully. This is the secret to getting whatever you want. You have to believe it. Now, most people fail in this because it's hard to believe in something you can't see.
That's what I'm about to ask you, Mr. J. It's 6 months in. It's 9 months in. It's 18 months in. I'm still...
Think about it. 6 months, 18 months. In the grand scheme of time, it is nothing. Think about it. See, people want... This is why I'm not a big fan of Instagram and the society today. Microwave food. Everything is Insta. It takes 9 months to make a baby. 9 months, man, to create a life. Then let alone all the years you have to raise it. But I promise you, if you had a child, this is how I would tell people to look at your business. Okay. Let me help you here.
All right, help me out.
Help me out.
Because
a lot of guys struggle with this.
Help me out.
Mr. J, I'm working hard to get my business off the ground. I'm praying. I'm busting my ass. I'm doing everything I need to do. Man, it just hasn't hit yet, right? And I said, okay, I feel you on that. But you just need to be patient. How long do I have to wait? And let's just use this example. Let's suppose you had a baby, right? And you bring the baby home, you and your girl happy, y'all got a little kid or whatever, right? And the baby can't walk, it can't feed itself, it can't do nothing. And all this baby does is eat, poop, and cry. Wake you up at 2 o'clock in the morning, you gotta be to work, you just got off work, you're working a double to make more money, but you're gonna keep going. No matter how tired you are, you keep going. And so does the ladies, your girl, right? Y'all keep doing this. You do this for 4 or 5 months, right? And then eventually the baby sits its head up and it starts to, hold itself up. And then eventually the baby starts to crawl. And then eventually the baby holds itself up. And then eventually the baby starts to walk. And then eventually the baby starts to run. And then eventually the baby's in school, preschool. Then eventually the baby's in elementary. Then it's in junior high. And both of you look at each other and say, damn, she grew up so fast. Now why don't you take that same approach to your business? You see, you don't mind waiting 9 and 10 years for your child to grow, but you want your business to grow 10 years in one day. You see, if you looked at your business the way you look at your child, you would not rush your child to grow. He's 1. He only is going to be 1 for how long? 1 year. Eventually he's 2. He'll be 2 for how long? 2 years. So eventually that child is going to grow. And you're going to extend that child all the patience it needs to learn, to grow, to walk, and do all the things, right? But you won't do that to yourself. And that's why they fail. They won't extend the same courtesy that they would give to their offspring to themselves. Why do you think your business needs to take off and run in 6 months? Who does that? Where does that happen at? But the image that they say in society, that's how it should be. This is a misnomer. Most business and wealth is built over a period of time. People look at Meta, formerly Facebook, and assume when Mark Zuckerberg was a billionaire, this, that, and the third. But most people don't realize when he was working back in those days when they weren't making any money. And then they go public and all that. So the point I'm trying to make to you is simple. If you were to treat your business like a child, from the inception and then up to where it is today, you would give that child time to grow. So I say that to you and to any who are listening. Give your business time to grow. And here's another thing what most people don't realize. Usually your business is scaling at the rate you are. This is another misnomer. People expected them to get $1 million contract, but you wouldn't even know what to do with $1 million.
Yeah, you set the pace.
You set the pace. So are you scaling yourself, or are you just trying to scale your business without you scaling at the same time? This creates an unequally yoked situation, meaning I got $1 million worth of money, but I got a $30,000 mentality. This will not work. I have to have the $1 million money with a $10 million mentality.
What would you telling your younger self?
Start to grind. Mr. J wasn't born. I didn't have no bread. I'm keep it a buck. You got to grind. You got to get out here. I used to work at, years ago, I was a restaurant manager. I didn't work for Olive Garden, On the Border, Old Charlie's, John Harbor's Brew House, ESPN Zone, Magic Johnson's, TGI Fridays. I done work. You got to grind. It is a grind. When you young is when you want to grind. Okay. See, that's when you don't have kids and you don't have no real responsibility, right? So then when I'm young, I'm going to grind. But the deal is when you're young, you also around a bunch of young people who don't have a high level of discipline as it comes to what are we going to do with our bread.
Right.
You see a lot of young cats buying ice and jewelry, stuff like that, right? For a certain image or whatever. I wear a cheap, right? None of this shit matters, man. This is the first thing I would tell people. If you understand what money and value is, and you will realize cars, clothes, and jewelry is all bullshit. That's not where you want to. Those are all expenses. They all extrapolate your money.
Okay.
You see, but if I took that, do I really need to drive a Range Rover and have a $900 car payment? No. But why are you driving that? Because you're trying to impress people. I had a Ford Taurus years ago. You know what I mean? It didn't matter. I'm trying to get to where I need to get to. But most young people don't have someone tell them these things don't matter. You need to be focusing on this. So if you say you're working at McDonald's, right? Say you're making $15 an hour, which is roughly around $36,000 a year. Here's what I tell people. If you don't have it in you to be disciplined enough to pay yourself first. You see, again, how I said we were taught wrong? Most people are taught to pay what first?
Bills first.
Pay your bills first.
Auto pay.
Auto pay. You see, but then you pay yourself last, and then you trying to make do with what you have left. The hell with that. That's upside down. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? You worked all week, and then you're going to pay all these other people and pay yourself last? But that's what you were taught. Just like no pain, no gain. That's what you were taught. You're running the program. So then now they say, well, half of America have less than $400. Well, you're running the program. Here's what I say you do. You made your money. You know you got to pay your rent, your car payment, and all that shit. But if you don't pay yourself first, you was a fool. So the first thing I would tell anybody is you pay yourself first. What about my fiduciary obligations? Well, if you're putting yourself in a position where your income is not matching up with your expenses, I'm not going to tell you to cut back. You have a real simple solution here. You just need to make more money. This is the wealthiest country in the world. There's no lack of money here. There's no lack of money in this country. I'm going to tell you again. You're looking at a brother come off the block. Mom sold dope. Pops was an alcoholic. I'm telling the truth. There's no shame in my game. I'm keeping it a buck. For high school diploma, former special ed student. I'm 6'9". They told me to play basketball. I got a 550 on my SAT. Now, how did I get to where I'm at? Because none of that shit matters. All those test scores and all that, that's just somebody's opinion. No one can stop you from achieving your goal if you make your mind up to do something. So that's the only thing you got to do is make your mind up. I don't want to be poor. People ask me all the time, what was your motivation for getting out of, for changing your life? Poverty. Going into Publix and not being able to buy the Cap'n Crunch berries because it's $5.65 a box and I don't have the money to get it.
You're right.
That's what motivated me. Simple. Going into the supermarket, filet mignon, $33, looking at your bank account, $28. I want that. I can't afford that. What do I do about it? Catch it on sale when it's a manager special and it smells funny and eat that crap? Or do I need to figure out what do I need to do to make some more money?
Go back to that self-accountability.
That's self-accountability. And so I ask myself, what do I need to do? Well, it's simple. You got to increase your value. You see, this is a land of capitalism. We live in a capitalist society, goods and services. You see, you have a service and it's good, you can make money for it. It's just that simple. And so once I understood that concept, I stopped being a consumer and became a producer. Mm-hmm. When once you produce something, let me tell you, the money from what you produce as opposed to what you consume, night and day is an understatement. It's an understatement. To be a consumer is to be a slave. It's just that simple. And that's why I pray about this under the umbrella called marketing. You need that burger. You need this shake. You need that outfit. You need this purse. You need this medicine from the pharmaceutical company, even though it's going to cause you to have heartburn, diarrhea, and all that. You need all that. And so they play on that because they understand programming. That's why it's called television programming, TV programming. Channel. Why is it a different channel? Each channel brings a different frequency. Each frequency a different energy. Its energy a different vibration. Each vibration draws to you that which you are focused upon. It's really simple. Why do you think they have it there? None of this is just by happenstance. They know what they're doing. So what do they bombard you with? Fear, lack, worry, disease. If you vibrate that continuously, by God, by divine right and law, you must experience that.
Right.
So
how did you break free?
Well, it's real easy to break free from the matrix. The first thing you have to realize is that you're in it. You're in a matrix. You are not thinking for yourself. Most people are not. You're running a program. I'll prove it to you again. You tell a young man, go to school, graduate, and go where?
Get a job, college. Go to
College.
Yeah,
Programming.
College.
If
Yeah,
you want to
college,
get a good job, you need a college what?
degree.
Degree. See, we all test program. I'm just using examples to show you it's programming. I just want, even you know it. I know it. We all do.
And I lived it. I'm like,
You lived it. So
it.
now I have $50,000, $60,000 worth of debt.
All right.
I have to pay for it. You know what I mean? So now that makes me a slave. Unless I get out there and create my own opportunity. Now here's the secret to getting what you want. It's real simple. Don't ever do what you want to do. Do what's needed. I'm going to say this to you again. Don't do what you want. Do what's needed. When you do what's needed, there's a service for it. Like, for example, you might say where I live at, it's an abundance of nail shops, wing joints, and barbershops. Some guy said, man, I'm opening up a business. What do you want to do? I'm opening up a barbershop. We don't need another barbershop, bro. But they're all over. But if I say, you know what? I'm opening up a supermarket. Well, there's a food desert over here off Candler. So you do what's needed. A lot of cats want to do what they want as opposed to what's needed. Smart business people find a need and fill it. So again, how do you escape that? Number one, realize that you're in this trap. Number two, understand that no one's coming to save you. I tell my wife this all the time. No one's coming to save us. You're going to learn to save yourself. So the first thing you got to do is educate yourself on money. If you want to be, it's no different than playing basketball. If a brother want to play ball or football, what's that cat out there doing after school? He bouncing the ball, he going between his legs, he's shooting 1,000 shots. He might not even make it to the pros, but he's doing all of that to get his shot at it.
Right.
Preparation. So let's take that same discipline and apply it to finances. What if I'm practicing paying myself every week? What would I do eventually? I would get what at it? Better at it. I would get better at money. You know what I mean? If I took it a point, I made it a point to be more astute of what I'm making, to be more astute of where's my attention. If I'm on my phone and I'm watching YouTube videos of some bullshit that's not helping me make money, that's not empowering me, that's not giving me any type of level of education where I can have a better skill, then I'm literally making myself poor. So a lot of times here's what I tell my guys. What is in your pocket is a direct reflection of what's in your mind. I can't put it any plainer than that. What is in your mind is a reflection of what's in your pocket. You say, I ain't got nothing in my pocket. Well, you ain't got nothing in your mind worth selling.
What do you say to somebody who's, college educated, well-renowned, doctorate, still has no money?
Well, most academics are poor people because they never were taught about money. They thought that if I got my doctorate, that I would be successful. I can appreciate that. But you just look at it, and I don't want to get the wrong impression here. I don't have anything against higher education, okay? But the fact of the matter is the world is ran by C students. It is not ran by doctorates. The world itself, I don't believe our president has a doctorate. I don't think Donald Trump didn't have a doctorate. Biden doesn't have a doctorate. I don't even know if Barack Obama had a doctorate. So that doctorate shit doesn't mean nothing to me. Okay, doctor, you're gonna be dead just like this person who's not a doctor. So that's just, again, that classism. They educated themselves. Okay, fine, you're a doctor. I appreciate your accomplishments. Great. But if you're a doctor and you're poor and this guy has a high school diploma, he's a millionaire, then what really was the value of your doctorate? Mm-hmm. So what do I tell them? You fell for the Kool-Aid. You bought the hype like many other people did. Now, 30 years ago, it might have been imperative to have a doctorate, a master's, or a bachelor's. But that's when manufacturing was different, jobs were different. If we look at everything today, software, engineering, things of that nature, does it require you to have a degree? Absolutely not.
Oh, they're more trade.
It's a trade.
Yeah.
When I was coming up, we went to trade schools. They taught you plumbing, electrical. They taught you skill-based education. Mm-hmm. And in today's society, it's not like that. I didn't even know they didn't teach children to write in cursive anymore. I was brung up, you write in cursive.
Oh, no.
I didn't know they didn't do that anymore. But again, what I would tell anyone is there's no reason for you to be poor. And if you're, and this is what's fascinating. Usually, the more educated you are, the higher up you go with education, sometimes the poorer you become, because they're intellectually rich, they're intellectually wealthy, but that doesn't transfer into real world wealth, if you will. Now, you take a cat out the desert. This dude grew up with flies. He's poor his whole life. And he comes from nothing and becomes a billionaire. And everybody celebrates him. Don't you see he was never really poor? He was never poor. His environment might have been, but he wasn't. That's the difference. It's how you're thinking. Just because you grew up in a poor environment. Stay with me. You grew up in a poor environment, man. Just outright poverty. With flies, and I don't have nothing but mush. And this dude all of a sudden is a billionaire cement guy. Don't you see? He was never poor. His environment was, but not his mentality.
Just like the resources.
He just lacked the resources. But hold on, wait a minute. Does he really? Then how did he get it? How did it come to him? Unless he kept seeing it where? In his mind. So you don't lack.
Yeah, you don't.
There is no lack on this planet. All of you who are listening to me, get it clear. There is no lack on this planet. There is no lack. There is only lack of self-worth, self-esteem, self-awareness. You go out to the ocean. They have these big, huge ships with these nets that bring in tons of fish every day. Is the ocean out of fish? No. You plant an apple tree. The tree grows. It's so many apples that they fall to the ground and rot. Don't let you have an orchard of them. There's no lack of food on this planet. There's no lack of money. There's no lack of water. There's no lack of resources. There's no lack of nothing. There's greed. That's the truth. There's no lack of nothing. There's no lack. We throw food away in this country. I can go to restaurants downtown and I'm sure they're going to throw away some food this evening. But yet there's people across 2 blocks over that are hungry. But you start getting into politics and laws and legislation and all that crap. There's no reason for people to be hungry. There's no reason for people to be poor in this country. There's no God-given reason. There's no lack of anything. There's just hoarding. There's greed in society, and that is a huge problem. And that's not a financial crisis. That's a moral dilemma.
Okay.
You see, because people care more about their dogs than people. And I love dogs. I'm an avid dog lover, but people will literally care more about an animal than a person. That in itself shows you that their mindset is skewed tremendously. And it's unfortunate, but there's a lack of humanity upon this planet. There's not a lack of resources, and I really want to make that clear to people. There is no lack of oil, lack of water, lack of food, lack of supplies. Every time you get on the highway, you get on the interstate, and you see vast areas of land for miles. There's plenty of wood. There's plenty of places for people to live. So this whole thing, it's a lie. It's a lie.